Greetings, my friends. I'm Andreea, astrologer, and welcome to a new series from the long-term transit, which is this time Jupiter in the tropical Cancer. Bitcoin is at a new high, profits surge. But why is everyone broke? So let's explore the history, and yes, this happened in 2013, and let's see what is the connection with what happens today and in the next year. Jupiter will transit the tropical Cancer from June 9th, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. So roughly 1 year. What did we have before? This is a Jupiter cycle, which is complete in 12 years. So 12 years ago, we had the same configuration, and this was from June 26th, 2013 until July 16th, 2014. So it was again roughly 1 year. Usually we look at patterns in the global scale, in the global economy, to see what can we expect in financial markets in general, and I will walk you through a history of this year 2013-2014. It was mid-year to mid-year basically that we had the transit, and then we will go into the happenings today and what can we expect for the next year. Nevertheless, stay with me because I want to talk about Bitcoin, and I will give a key date that is for 2025, and it's very important to watch out for it. So let's explore all this. In 2013, Wall Street soared to new heights. There were record profits for corporates, and still millions of people didn't have jobs. Why at that time did economists really call for Fed pulling back support, and for whom was this recovery designed? We will see this as the main things that happened in 2013 with a look from the lens of a déjà vu, so to speak, but we can already make some connections with today's happenings, and this is important to have it as a supporting point and to see what else could be really in line with what was back then. Back in 2013, the big question on everyone's mind was this: when should the Federal Reserve start pulling back its support for the economy? And economists were split in terms of their opinion. Some pointed to the fact that the unemployment rate, which was still high, and they argued that the Fed should stay the course. Others saw a declining labor force participation rate and warned the economy might already be near full employment. But where was a twist there back then? And maybe you can also think of what happens today. Inflation. It stayed too long all year long at that time. And it matters, of course, in order to take a decision for the future course of action. Meanwhile, wage growth was flat, way below the levels that were expected if there was truly a full employment status. So when people started talking about tapering or even tightening policy, it felt premature. Then, yes, it was a hurting situation, but not for everyone. It was really a banner year for the stock market and an even bigger one for the top 10% of holders, of investors in this stock market. And yes, that group used to hold 80% of all the stock wealth in US at that time, and corporate profits. They were also one economic metric that really kept rising. It was a great KPI to see evolving. Everything else, job openings, personal income, employment, was stuck near rock bottom. And there was also a bigger question. Does the economy work in order to grow corporate profits? Or is there a broader responsibility to the people who live and work in it? And here we might also think about AI a bit, isn't it? And for Cancer, actually, which is so linked to the real estate market, the housing market was at that time in a recovery phase following the 2008 financial crisis, and it was 5 to 6 years after that. Prices were starting to rebound from their lows during the crisis, but it was actually a slow recovery. At macroeconomic level and in financial markets broadly, I do think we see some parallel, some similarity between the main points that were back then in 2013 and what we see in 2025. I think you would agree with me. But what else is really very, very different this time in terms of labor force, and what do we have to plan for the next years? It's artificial intelligence. It's AI, the new kid on the block, which can change, of course, the policy and the course of action for the future. But the situation is quite similar as we can see. And of course, I don't focus here on the macro itself too much. I wanted only to give a sort of overview of what happened so that we are aware of this climate. And I want to talk about Bitcoin now because this will influence also the crypto market. As we know, it's still the dominating force in the whole market cap actually, and it is important to know what we can expect. But first of all, let's go into a historical overview of what happened in 2013, because I think it's very interesting. When this transit started in 2013 on the 26th of June, we had a BTC price of $104. And it was a very interesting time for risk assets. As you know, everything up and to the right. I also show you a chart regarding S&P 500, and you see that it was really a small retracement. Actually, it was up and to the right, literally. And yes, this influenced also Bitcoin as a risk asset. At least I think this was the perception at that time. And the peak that was registered in 2013 happened on December 4th, 2013, and it was $1,151. So a great move, as you can see, and it is really something that I do think we will not be able to see again. So we need to be realistic. We can't see this over 10x multiplier, but I do think that we are up for a interesting search that is possible. And yes, here I know that opinions vary a lot, and some of them are super bullish, some of them are more moderate. I promised you a key date for Bitcoin, and let's explore that, because in the light of the similarities in the macro with what happens today, I am sure you are quite curious to see what would be the link and if we have any similarity in the sky, so to speak, so that we trigger a similar top and when. Of course, history will not repeat perfectly, and the solar system is built in such a manner that the very same configuration that we see will be activated in 26,000 years from now, when we will not be alive anymore, at least not in this consciousness, so to speak. And it is really important to have this as, a sort of pattern, but it's not a guarantee that it will happen. Nevertheless, I want to tell you what would be a key date really to watch out for. We don't know if this would be the absolute peak like it was in 2013, but it is an important time to be aware of. So what happened back then? We had this top for BTC, which was really amazing on the 4th of December 2013. Sorry, so we are in the past now. And this happened when Jupiter was at 19 degrees and 20 minutes of the tropical Cancer. And the full cycle for the same degree will be hit this time on the 9th of September 2025. And this is for the UTC time zone. In all cases, I talk about dates on this time zone. So we need something very special, because yes, we have a date, but very special things need to happen in the sky in order to trigger such a new at the highest in general. And yes, the horoscope is important, but it's also very, very important what happens in the sky at that time. And in 2013, we didn't have any other major influence but a nice trine, which is a very positive aspect between Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter was in Cancer, of course, we talk about this cycle, and guess what? Saturn was in a water sign as well. It was in Scorpio. So it was a nice trine between these two planets, which are really bound to manifest things in the world in general, also in our personal lives. So this was one thing that really triggered this top. What do we have now? Now it's also interesting that we do have Saturn in the tropical Pisces, which is also a water sign, and we do have Jupiter also in the tropical sign of Cancer. We know we talk about this cycle, and this is also water. So this means that they are also in a favorable aspect of a trine, but this time the orb, it's not an exact aspect, and it's basically technically for a trine outside the orb, because there are 10 degrees difference this time. And in the past, in 2013, it was only 2 degrees. So from this point of view, it was a much stronger energy. What will happen now that is still strong, and we think there would be a big event? So first of all, I want to mention the lunar eclipse, which takes place on the 7th of September 2025. I will talk about this, of course, in the next month as the time approaches. And we do have interesting aspects on the day, because they are very important for an eclipse to see if it's bullish or bearish. And we do have actually a very bullish aspect, which is a trine between Rahu and Lilith. The black moon Lilith will really instill the spirit of adventure, which will be really exacerbated by Rahu, the north node, which will bring this crazy courage. And it will be also smoke. so it's inflated. Whatever the target would be, I think it would be quite unrealistic, but people will go for it because this risk appetite will be on. And it won't last long because we have this energy on the 9th, then we have this deja vu, this cycle that happens, and then on the 10th of September, we will have a Venus square Lilith. Again, the same Lilith, which will temper the risk appetite. Something will happen in the world of crypto, which is symbolized by Venus, that would really slow the pace down at least. So I would expect a correction immediately, so it won't last. But it is an interesting topic, you know, and a time that needs to be watched out, in my opinion, because we see this bullish cycle, which is pretty weird. And of course, there are many other energies which were different at that time. We had Uranus in other positions. So all the outer planets, which are also responsible for exceptional results, were outside the same configuration of influence, and they move very slow. So it is really a configuration that is pretty different, but also pretty similar. So I hope this was interesting for you, and you had interesting dive into the history and what can we expect. But at macro level, isn't it amazing that there are so many common points between 2013 and 2025? So what do you think? Do you think we will have a really outstanding maybe 5x Bitcoin? Although I don't know if at this price level this would be possible. Let me know in comments. Thank you so much for liking, for subscribing. It helps the channel. I am very grateful for that. And until next time, be joyful. See you.